let's get into what's happening right now as I'm back here in the desert. We are continuing to pile up debt, as I'm sure most of you know. And most of you are probably expecting to see the Fed cut rates at the end of July. The Fed will continue to push rates down to keep the consumer borrowing. You know, the guy that's living paycheck to paycheck, the person who has no money saved up. They are forced to keep this train on the rails. They're forced to keep the consumer borrowing, to keep this thing going. The question that I have, and please comment down below, what is going to happen to this economy when the credit cards are maxed out? Please comment down below. They can only push rates so far down. We're near zero already. And at this moment, people are getting maxed out and tapped out with their credit cards. What happens when people no longer can borrow? I can tell you from experience, I shot some video yesterday on my way home, which will be on this video, of what I saw in Riverside County yesterday. More tent cities, more vacant retail stores, more vacant commercial real estate. And it's really a prelude, a look into the future of what's to come. So take a look behind me, another big store, last legs. It is on its last legs. Blowout sale, going to be closing soon. It is looking like Detroit City over here in parts of Moreno Valley and parts of Riverside County, without a doubt. So while the average Joe living paycheck to paycheck is forced now to live off of credit cards, to borrow money he doesn't have just to survive, I witnessed people living in tents, living on the streets, and people say that could never be them, that could never happen. I promise you, for people living paycheck to paycheck, many people are just one paycheck away from joining those people. If you don't have family, if you don't have a tight-knit group of friends who would be willing to take you in, how many people in America right now are just one paycheck away from living in a tent, from living in a box? More than you think. Even though most of us want to deny that, we can lie to ourselves and say that would never be able to, that could never happen to us. We would never allow that to happen. But for the most part, the reality of it is most people in America are one paycheck away from being on the streets, living in a tent city, living in a box, being homeless, being without food and water, being without a bathroom facility. There are more people in America that are susceptible to this lifestyle than I think most people realize. And listen, that could happen to any one of us. A little bad luck, a medical emergency that now puts you on the brink of bankruptcy. These medical payments absolutely drown people with debt. You lose a job, your husband or wife loses a job, your kid has a medical emergency, or or a family member. This can happen, and it can happen in the blink of an eye. And this is why it's so important to make sure you're putting an emergency fund away, and to make sure you have assets put away for a rainy day, an emergency. There are too many people living on the streets that honestly shouldn't be living on the streets, but the opportunity dried up. They ran into some bad luck. They ran into a medical emergency. They lost a job. Maybe both people in the household lost their jobs, and it was bad timing. It can happen, and it's happening to a lot of people. And while we're being told that the economy is doing well, I'm here to tell you, at least out in Riverside County, it's not doing very well. There are pockets of areas that the homeless just literally are everywhere, that there are multiple tent cities. I only spent a few minutes on my way back. I could have probably took an entire day and shot hours of video. I'm not even showing you 2% of what's going on in Riverside. But this is just an example of just one pocket in the Riverside area where this is what is happening. People in America are sleeping on sidewalks, some of them vets, some of them mentally disabled, some of them having bad luck, some of them being drug addicts, just a variety of cases. But while we are taking in people from around the world, making sure that they get 3 meals a day, an education, legal counsel, athletics, video games, and all sorts of entertainment, and of course, medical, we have Americans sleeping in the streets, sleeping on sidewalks, sleeping with the rats, and this is a health risk to everybody. This is a danger for everybody, for the people living on the streets and for the average, Joe Blow going to work and living in these communities. This is not safe for anybody. Yet, we're spending more money taking care of other people than our own people. We need to put people in a safe location, get them the help that they need. We don't need to be helping people from all parts of the world. We need to start helping our own people. We got vets with PTSD. We got vets with drug addiction living on the streets. We've got people that are mentally disabled. We got little kids living on the streets. They didn't choose to live on the streets, okay? But this government has let down its own people, and there are just too many people in too many cities, in too many parts of America where this is happening, and this is wrong. So I'm kind of bouncing all over the place today, but there's so much going on, and I just got in late yesterday afternoon, and I'm just trying to get caught up with things. And there's just so many things happening. I want to talk about Deutsche Bank again. Most people don't care about Deutsche Bank. Most people don't even know what Deutsche Bank is. They don't know where Deutsche Bank is. They have no idea that Deutsche Bank holds $49 trillion in derivatives. Most people just want to, vape or play video games, watch reality TV, play football, go buy stuff that they don't need, run up their credit cards a little bit more, and just live in a bubble and a life of denial. But we're going to talk a little bit more about reality here. They don't understand. The average Joe Blow knows more about his vape pen than he does about Deutsche Bank. He doesn't, or she doesn't, understand that if Deutsche Bank blows up, okay, if they have a meltdown, this quickly is going to be a major crisis throughout the globe. It's going to be a major, major financial crisis. There's an important fact to be aware of, and that's Deutsche Bank traded derivatives with many banks throughout the world, including the United States of America. And Deutsche Bank's problems are going to become other banks' problems. Deutsche Bank's problems become America's problems. This is a bank that just laid off 18,000 people. This is a bank that literally has very little equity left. Okay? So welcome to reality. Welcome to the real world. We are very close to watching a major meltdown take place here. And if Deutsche Bank goes, it's going to affect everybody. And it's going to rock the markets. So keep an eye on Deutsche Bank. I think that can be a very, very serious problem. I also want to talk about this debt. I mean, everything revolves around debt. It's Deutsche Bank, it's the U.S. Government, it's your county, it's your state, it's your city, it's your household. Everything is getting devastated because of debt. This debt that we have acquired here in the United States of America can never be repaid back. As the pile continues to grow higher, the burden of servicing this debt, even at today's historical low interest rates, is placing an increasingly heavy drag on economic growth. How can we grow as a country when it's going to cost so much money just to service this debt? And the debt gets bigger, and the amount of money it costs to service the debt gets bigger. So how do we grow? As I see things going, cash is going to continue to depreciate, and we're going to see domestic and international conflicts increasing here in America. The end of the road is getting near. We are going to see, I believe, serious conflicts taking place here, whether they be economically, politically, or socially. Conflict is coming to the United States of America. And this is why I'm so adamant that every one of us is preparing. I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't work for anybody. Somebody said I work for the U.S. government. I don't work for the U.S. government. Some people say I sell precious metals. I don't sell precious metals. I buy precious metals. I share with you what I'm doing. I believe that security is of the utmost importance. I believe having food and water and a trauma kit and all your preps in order is so important. And I truly believe that owning hard, tangible assets is very, very important. And mainly, the importance lies when the dust settles, because your can of beans will be worth a lot when you're starving, but when the dust settles, when we get back up to a monetary system, you need to be holding some assets. If a new money comes in, or a crypto comes in, or whatever the case may be, more than likely it's going to have to be backed by precious metals. Otherwise, we're right back where we started. We have a digital currency called the US dollar right now, which is backed by nothing but faith. And the world is losing faith in the US dollar. So if you came in with a new currency, if you came in with a crypto, it must be backed by something. Otherwise, we're right back where we started. This is my opinion. I believe that this new currency or old currency, if we back the dollar by gold, I believe that changes the whole ball game. I believe that that's what is going to have to take place. We're going to have a reset, and we're going to have a currency, whether it's the dollar or a new currency. It's going to have to be backed by gold. Otherwise, we're going to land up right back where we left off, or we're just not going to have the world or the American people having faith in a currency that can just be printed out of thin air. So it must be backed by something, and I believe we're going back to gold. Now, so I'm going to wrap this video up. Before I go, one last article. It comes from CNN. It's titled, "An Entire Nation Just Got Hacked. Records of over 5 million Bulgarians got stolen by hackers." This country only has 7 million people. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And this is why I'm so adamant about holding precious metals. And I'm not here to knock anybody that has cryptos, but I believe the grid is very fragile. I believe we're going to see more cyber attacks as we all know. NASA's been hacked into, the U.S. government's been hacked into, the Bulgarians have been hacked into, financial institutions hacked into, department stores, credit card companies, banks, they've all been hacked into. I'm very concerned if we ever have a time where the grid goes down. I need to have things available right here, right now. I can't depend on a computer screen. I can't depend on electricity. I can't depend that things are going to be safe from a cyber attack. I have to depend on myself. And so this is why I'm such a proponent of having hard, tangible assets where you can get to them. You know, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. This is why you must be your own central bank. So again, not a knock on cryptos, but I'm just, I'm sharing with you how I think. You can comment down below. Let me know how you think. But with the amount of cyber attacks, we're seeing now the New York subway was shut down. The computer system went down. We're seeing more power outages throughout the country. All these problems with these computer systems. What happens, if things get more serious with Iran, as they've threatened us with cyber attacks, China becoming more sophisticated, Russia more sophisticated, all these countries becoming more sophisticated with cyber technology. What if the grid did get shut down? What if, we're being threatened now with Iran that they have cells here now, and these cells, exactly what they're going to go to. They're going to go to the grid. They're going to shut it down. This is the heartbeat of a city, is the grid. And so if the grid goes down, how do you function? If you do not have food, water, medical, if you do not have financial assets in your hand, you're going to be in big trouble. And so I'm thinking worst case scenario. I hope it never gets to that. But I'm thinking worst case scenario. What happens? What if, things become more serious? We are always under threat, and these countries are becoming more advanced, and we're being more and more infiltrated every day, as Iran has been saying. So again, thinking out loud, let me know what you think. But I don't hold my food and water and medical assets somewhere on a computer screen. I hold them right here where I can access them in a case of emergency. And that's how I think with financial assets too. It's not going to do me any good on a screen somewhere. It's not going to do me any good in a bank somewhere or in a financial institution 3,000 miles away from my house. I want my financial assets right here, just like I want my food, my water, and my ammo right here where I can access it when I need it, because I'm going to need it at the worst possible time. So think about that. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. It should be an interesting week. Expect a rate cut coming at the end of July. I believe it will be 25 basis points. This market is dependent on the central bank, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve now is its main job now is to merely make sure that the stock market stays propped up, that they keep propping up the stock market. The Federal Reserve's main job is to continue to prop these markets up. They do not want to derail this train. They must keep people borrowing. They must keep people in the illusion. They know that this is coming to the end of the road. but they're putting it off as long as they can. But the day of reckoning is coming. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure that you pray for this president. Make sure you pray for this country, and continue to stay awake and aware, because things are changing so quickly. All it takes is a Deutsche Bank to melt down, and your world changes overnight. God bless you. Take care. Talk to you soon.